Welcome back to Fantasy Baseball 360 alongside Scott White and Nando DeFino. I'm George Sedano. Time for Judge George, guys. Here we go. So we've gotten a bunch of tweets and Facebook messages and even some emails, and they're just trade scenarios, and my two counselors here will take an opportunity to defend their side, and then I'll make the decision, and it'll be final, whether you like it or not. So here we go.
George has all your passwords.
Yeah. AJ Brzezinski and Ian Kennedy for Mike Napoli. Who will present the case for Mike Napoli?
I will present the case for Mike Napoli, and a lot of this, Pierzynski, okay, it looks like you're getting something to make up for the loss of Napoli, but this is a head-to-head league, so only one starting catcher and not two, and assuming it's standard-size league, only 12 catchers start. Pierzynski's not one of the 12 best catchers in fantasy. Chances are he's going to be on the waiver wire when all's said and done. So this comes down to Kennedy versus Napoli, and although I don't expect Napoli to repeat the batting average from a year ago necessarily, he's still the top power hitter at catcher. Slam dunk for 30 homers. I'll take that over a decent starting pitcher in Kennedy.
Decent starting pitcher.
Wasn't he like
is the greatest undersell of all
Okay,
time.
it was a little undersold. A little undersold. He's less than a true ace.
You're
He's
putting your
less than a true
reputation
ace.
on the line to win Judge George.
Less than a true ace.
Oh,
I've got Napoli here, right? And
Right.
I've got I'm not really buying into Pierzynski. It's
Right.
fine. It's definitely a win for Napoli by a large distance. But I think picking up Kennedy, and he's just developing and becoming a better pitcher every day, evens it out more than enough.
Has he become a better pitcher this year than he was at the end of last year?
Well,
I
wait
haven't
a
seen
second.
it yet.
He's becoming every day.
It is
better.
early. It is early. So
He's a good pitcher. I
he's
did
a very
understand.
good-
He's literally not becoming a better pitcher every day. Literally, no.
I would say he's very good. I'm going to go, I would agree. It's hard. This one's probably the toughest one of all of them that we got. Actually, there's two of them that are very difficult. But in this one, I'm going to rule Pierzynski and Kennedy.
Ooh.
Next one is from Troy Hallam. And it says, can I please get your thoughts on this trade? Putting up McCutchen and Herron for Bruce and Hanley Ramirez. Who has Hanley Ramirez and Jay Bruce?
I got Ramirez and Bruce. This really all comes down to Hanley Ramirez for me. I'm going to make my entire case on Hanley Ramirez. You're talking about a potential 35 player. He's a credible buy low right now, even though Herron's a bit of a buy low himself right now. Hanley Ramirez, I think, is the crux of this deal. And getting that kind of player in a middle infield spot, I haven't even looked at Bruce yet. I mean, you're talking about Jay Bruce, who's a top outfielder as well.
I may have undersold Kennedy, but calling Hanley Ramirez a 35 player. When's
He's
the
on
last
pace.
Time,
He's
when's
on
the
pace.
last time he sniffed 35?
He's got 6-6 right now and 118 at bats.
I agree he's the
Just
best
multiply
player
by
in this.
5.
I agree he's the best player in this deal, mostly because of the shortstop eligibility. But Andrew McCutchen's not that far behind. He's
I
a
think he's
5-category player in his own right.
Yeah.
He walks a lot. Homered yesterday, seems to be getting the power back on track, and then getting a pitcher in Herron who's really in the same class as Kennedy, and not quite an ace, but still a very good starting pitcher. I think those two are better than Ramirez and Bruce, who's obviously going to be very streaky, not necessarily trustworthy every week.
I'm ruling for Ramirez and Bruce. We go
Hanley fan.
Nelson Cruz and Jeremy Hellickson. This, I think, was the most difficult one to decide on. But I'd like to hear your cases because, I want to see maybe someone sways my mind and changes my mind. Who's got Hellickson?
I do.
Okay.
Mine is more of an anti-Cruz. Well, first of all, Hellickson, 2.71 ERA, 1.055, 9.8 Ks through 9 in the minors. Cruz, can you tell me the last time he had 500 at-bats in a season? You cannot, because it has never happened. I rest my
Case closed.
Case?
Wow.
I rest my case.
What are you doing, Scott?
Can you tell me the last time Jeremy Hellickson? Oh, he's second year, so that doesn't exactly work.
Right.
But he's not a strikeout guy, and because of that, he's always going to remain in outside the top 30 starting pitchers, I feel like, in fantasy. And once you get beyond that threshold, there's a lot of interchangeable parts there. He doesn't really stand out as somebody who's going to make and break your team. Like I said about Cruz earlier, in that lineup with his power potential, when he is healthy, he's one of your top 2 or 3 hitters. So I think you got to take it just for even if it's a short-term benefit, the benefit's so good with Cruz that you have to take that side of the deal.
I'd like to
say
rebut.
this.
Can I rebut?
I'll say this. Well, you closed your case.
Go ahead.
That's your
No,
fault. You
never-
rested your case. You could have rebutted, but you rested the case.
I just wanted.
This is the courtroom.
Fine. I'll save it for Twitter.
I was going to go with Hellickson, but Scott changed my mind. I go Nelson Cruz on that one. There we go. On to Scherzer versus Big Z. Who's got Scherzer?
I have Scherzer, and it's more of an argument against Carlos Zambrano than for Scherzer.
You're like the negative recruiter if you were a college coach.
I mean, just looking at his ERA in the shutout, everyone's saying, oh, Carlos Zambrano is back. Well, the K's are not back. So I don't know that I can honestly say Carlos Zambrano is back. And although we've talked before on this show how Max Scherzer is inconsistent, up one start, down the next. You want inconsistent. You want unreliable. You want a guy capable of flying off the handle at any given moment. It's Carlos Zambrano. He's the dictionary, the textbook definition of it, and that makes Scherzer the clear winner to me.
So emotional. He's going emotional argument.
Yeah, this is not
like
allowed.
Zambrano.
Emotional stress that Zambrano will cause you. Go ahead.
I take the side that Zambrano's in a new situation with a new manager. He's in a new climate. All these things add up to Carlos Zambrano. You know, we had a professional baseball player on a couple weeks ago saying, again, I go back to this.
Travis Hafner, right.
Kipnis, when it gets warm, he's going to start hitting. When it gets warm, Zambrano's going to start pitching well. You know, the arm's a little looser.
Because he's not pitching well now?
He's pitching well now.
Right, but
That's
he's
what
in
I'm
a warm climate. Right.
Look out the window. It's 80 and sunny every day here.
Well, it's not so sunny right now. It's a little cloudy.
I know. That was a joke because everyone tricked me into moving here.
I've always heard cold weather favors pitching. I don't know.
All right.
I think there's something to be said for Zambrano not pitching in 40-degree weather.
Scherzer's inconsistencies. His highs are great, but his lows are awful. And Zambrano's been the more consistent pitcher this year, so I'm going Zambrano.
Too early.
Final one, Dan Herron, Brett Lowry versus, a lot of people want to trade Dan Herron, for Curtis Granderson and Adam Dunn. Who's got Herron and Lowry?
That would be me. I see Lowry basically as a younger version of Ryan Braun right now. Great, tremendous buy low opportunity. Dan Herron, Scott, I believe, already argued for him a little while ago, so I'm just going to pass that on to Scott.
Yeah, and it's look, honestly, it's a pretty even trade. You know how much I like Lowry. I like Herron. I like Granderson most of all.
Right.
He was a second-round pick, and that was even with some people skeptical about his 40 homers from a season ago. Clearly, nobody's skeptical about that. Now he's one of the top power hitters in the game, has some speed also, top 5 outfielder. And Dunn, you're also getting a guy who you're probably going to leave in your lineup just about every week. So it's worth giving up the two very good players for the one great player and the one okay player.
Agreed. Best player in the deal is Granderson, and Adam Dunn is playing very well. He's back to being Adam Dunn again. It's Dunn and Granderson, and we're done. Roster Trends is coming up next here on Fantasy Baseball 360.
You're going to break that iPad someday.